Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from the Joy 99.7 FM studios at Kokomlemle in Accra with digital address GA0993341. Also live on Love FM in Kumasi. Affiliates across the country including Pad FM in Damango, Jubilee FM in Keta and Sunshine FM in Boku. It's on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by UMB Bank, UMB Speed Up, Digibank, Let's Go. And coming up, management of the University of Education Winneba fights back, insisting Professor Anthony Afo-Broni remains the substantive vice-chancellor of the school.
I am not sure that any court will grant the absurdity that they sought to perpetuate yesterday. There is a VC who has been properly and duly installed and invested as a VC.
We're live on the ground at the university where there is heavy security presence. Uneasy calm at Diskov as residents of Upper Diskov are forced to flee the town following attacks by residents of Lower Diskov in a reprisal, leaving dozens injured.
The people of Lower Diskov are retaliating that if government does not come out, if nothing is done, they would retaliate. So this is supposed to be a confirmation of what they have told us earlier.
We bring you live details and updates on the president's visit of the Western region. Now, as we continue our campaign to protect media freedom, we'll hear from veteran journalist Kwesi Pratt Jr. as he decries the partisanship and divisions in the media.
With the story we're being told, only an independent, fair-minded body can establish, the proper facts.
Meanwhile, NDC chairman bemoans denunciations of the press, threats and instigations against journalists as the party marks 7 years of Professor Atta Mills's death.
We are gathered here at the time when our commitment as a nation to fairness and transparency in governance is wavering.
And in sports
Minister Isaac Isiama reveals the country spent $4.5 million on the Black Stars Africa Cup of Nations campaign.
Benedict Owusu will be here with the sports, all that and more coming up in the bulletin in the next 30 minutes. Stay tuned in. In our first story, the management of the University of Education Winneba is today fighting back, insisting Professor Anthony Afo-Broni remains the substantive vice-chancellor of the school. The management also says the premises of the school remains safe and secured for business. This comes hours after ousted Vice-Chancellor Professor Mauto Avoka attempted to announce his assumption of the leadership of the university. Listen to him when he addressed the media on Tuesday.
It's also interesting to know that these dismissals were made despite the pendency of the case at the Supreme Court of the land at the time. We are back to our offices today to resume our rightful positions, knowing that there is no court prohibition on us and no notice of indictment from Yoko. For me, my foremost priority is to strive for genuine reconciliation among all stakeholders. It is only when genuine reconciliation is achieved can we restore the university to a functioning unit to live its mandate. We will work with relevant stakeholders to ensure this is achieved in the shortest possible time.
Well, his attempt to return to his former post was scuttled by law enforcement agencies. Joining us is Maxwell Agbagba, who is currently at the university campus, reports there is heavy security present. He joins us live. Hello, Maxwell. What more has the university management been saying?
Well, yesterday when former Vice-Chancellor of the university stormed the administrative block, a team of security officers were called in and they swiftly removed him from the office. The Vice-Chancellor, we are told, was at post attending to normal activities when the people entered the administrative block. But I've been speaking to the public relations officer of the university, and he is urging all to remain calm because they have the situation under control and all activities here at the university is going as planned.
What was the basis of all these declarations they were making? We were later to know that they had made an application for a restrictive order on the VC. And on the basis of just that application alone, they ran with that document and came here purporting to have taken over the realms of the administration of the university. But you see, anyone at all can walk to court and make a demand on the court. And because we live within a milieu of rule of law, the courts would take your request, whatever request you have made, that doesn't mean that the court has granted it. The court ought to hear the other side. No, we are a university, a very serious university for that matter. The university must run at all times. And so I am not sure that any court will grant the absurdity that they sought to perpetuate yesterday. The point being that you are first to go there and make a report doesn't mean that you are right. The court ought to hear the other side in order to come to a determination. There is a VC who has been properly and duly installed and invested as a VC. There has been not less than 6 rulings affirming that this VC was duly installed. In fact, the last one we had was on 25th June 2019.
Maxwell is still on the line. And Maxwell, we know the university's local chapter of UTAG had earlier supported Professor Avoka's purported assumption of office, but it appears not all members agreed. Tell us more about that.
Well, in a statement signed by the members, Eric Nketia, we are saying that the views expressed in that press statement represent the parochial interest of the UEW local president, Dr. Frimpong Kenchiduku, and his executive, and does not arise from consensus by the entire UEW UTAC members. They say it is a huge indictment on the integrity of the president, who a few weeks ago had been granted pardon by the UEW Governing Council for an earlier disciplinary action.
Now, where is Professor Avoka himself today? Do we know?
Well, we got indication, and we actually told that yesterday he mentioned that he'll be returning to this campus. But as it stands now, we've not seen him around. We've not seen the other dismissed members of staff also around. There's heavy security presence here. From where I'm standing, I can count about 6 police vehicles with about 20 police officers, some of them armed, others patrolling the university campus. In fact, if you enter the main campus, what happens is that the security men stationed at the front of the university will check your car, check the booth, and make sure that you're not entering with any material that can harm the people here as well.
All right, thank you very much. That was Maxwell Agwagwa bringing us that live update from the University of Education, Winneba. Moving on, tension is simmering in the western region town of Diskov following what seems to be a reprisal from residents of Lower Diskov. Information available to Joy News indicates some residents are fleeing the area to the capital of the municipality, Agona, Hanta, Buzia, and other nearby towns. The chief of Upper Diskov alleged to have attacked and kidnapped the chief of Lower Diskov together with 4 of his subjects last Sunday night. They were subsequently rescued by the police from the palace of Nana Hima Denchi, who is the chief of Upper Diskov. The suspect turned himself into the police yesterday after police declared him wanted. Latest reports indicate some persons believed to be residents of Lower Diskov are returning, attacking the people of Upper Diskov. Some residents of Upper Diskov who spoke to Joy News accused the police of looking on while they were being attacked without any provocation. My colleague Ina Thalia Kwansen joins us on the phone with the very latest. Hello, Ina. There are pictures circulating on various social media platforms of injured persons. Are you able to confirm if these images are actually residents of Upper Diskov?
Yes, Israel. These images circulating on various social media platforms happen to be residents of Upper Diskov. Apparently, they are claiming they have been attacked by residents of Lower Diskov.
And in what form did these attacks take?
Israel, I'm unable to speak to the forms because I'm yet to meet with them, and I'm unable to also confirm because police have not also spoken on this. I've been trying to reach the public relations officer because no one at the regional police command will speak on this issue except the regional police CRO, who I have been trying to reach, but I've not been able to get to her.
We understand the president was to cut salt for the construction of a fishing harbour at Diskov today. What's the update?
Yes, the president was supposed to go there, but that plan has been cancelled. The president is no longer going there, but he did visit Nana Kwesi Agyeman, the chief, who is supposed to have been kidnapped by the Upper Diskov chief. He visited him at the Tiankwanso Regional Hospital this morning, and the president asked him if he could identify the said people who came to kidnap him, but he said no, because there were many people who came and had kidnapped him, and it was late in the night, and it was also dark, so he cannot even pinpoint one if that person is standing in front of him.
Thank you very much. That was Athalia Kwansa. In a related development, President Akufo-Addo has challenged the previous NDC government to provide evidence of any policy implemented during their tenure to improve agricultural productivity. His comment is in direct response to former President Mahama, who said during his tour of the region last week that his government offered a better alternative to improving cocoa production and the lives of farmers.
Especially Kani Western region in cocoa no do yeti Ghana ha every Western region. And so somewhere no so oba na ya kwenyi na aseri. Nti ya fadwe say afibia ye di cocoa no be kono. Yenti sika ni bi. Na bebia yeti cocoa no free no. Yensiesie omo akwan kakra. Ampa so ya shase na ye mo hwe akwan bebre wo Western region na ya shase ye dem contract. Abra yenuanumo agi tumia ena omo ka che contractor for ni na se omo nja ejuma na contractor ye mine no ombe hwehwem enfie we no any funny I just say senjuma ni na e ka bibia ka ye na okohwe bibia senya ekwan no esi ase afa no e chen se na ete dada na se yeka se ye betam sika asan ye sa kwan na eche se sika ye de be ye no ebro edoso ebro nia ye de ma contract first no we nyina na eche se ye se ga na sika and so sanjuma akenyina schools e-school blocks chips compounds hospitals roads near the na ye nyina nina aka no minim se nyame be adom NDC ebeba ni abetoaso ni ewie.
But President Akufo-Addo says his predecessor failed to sustain gains chalked by President Kufuor's administration in cocoa production and other areas of agriculture in the country.
They have nothing to do with the reality of what is happening in Ghana in your time or what is happening in Ghana today. We're challenging them to come and tell us what they have done that has boosted agricultural production, has boosted cocoa production in Ghana.
President Akufo-Addo. Managing editor of the Inside newspaper, Kwesi Pratt Jr., is our lead campaigner for defending media freedom today, and he's raising concerns about partisanship and divisions in the media in Ghana. That's according to him, is the number one hindrance to defending media freedom in the country. Kwesi Pratt says the time has come for the media in Ghana to unite in the struggle for total freedom, insisting that nothing should justify the curtailing of freedoms of the media. He spoke to my colleague, MFR Powell.
I don't see how you can describe a final point in the struggle, because there will always be tension between those in authority who want to have their way and who want to do things in secrecy, and victims of those in authority who want openness and who want to live in a free society. Those tensions would always be there. I don't see when those tensions are going to vanish.
So in the last 1 or 2 years or so, the Media Foundation for West Africa, together with other media houses and civil society organizations, have counted up to about 20 infractions, at least on media personalities, including our own Lateef Idris, and you've mentioned Manasseh, for instance. How do we reverse this trend? That's the objective of this main campaign, defending media freedom.
Well, first of all, I'm impressed by what the media organizations are doing now. I mean, if they did that some time ago, perhaps life would be much easier for, practitioners. I mean, I was impressed when, after the arrest of the modern Ghana journalists, all of the media associations, including the Ghana Journalists Association, Private Newspaper Publishers Association, GBA, and so on, all of them came together to express outrage. And I said to myself that we are getting there. This should have happened a long time ago. But we are beginning to move in the right direction. Okay. Now, what should we do? We should just be ourselves and just do what we do. I think self-censorship is perhaps the biggest crime that we can commit against society. The other thing that worries me is the blatant partisanship. Yes, I'm a journalist. I consider myself a socialist. The fact that I'm a socialist does not mean that I should gloat when a non-socialist journalist gets into trouble. Journalism should unite all of us, irrespective of ideological inclination and so on, in the struggle to expand the space of freedom needed for our work. Unfortunately, somehow, in this country, you can even get MPP bread and NDC bread and so on, and it's spread over into the media. So we have media practitioners who rejoice when a section of the media is in trouble because they disagree with them politically and so on. I think it's not a very healthy situation. We need to form a strong organization of journalists to protect our profession, to protect the right of free expression, which does not belong to us alone, but belongs to everybody else and so on.
Managing editor of the Inside newspaper, Kwesi Pratt Jr., in that interview with Emefa Apau. Meanwhile, the opposition NDC has bemoaned denunciation of the press, threats and instigations against journalists, selective and forcible shutdown of FM stations perceived to be critical of government, among others. Former President Mahama, in a speech, said the culture of silence that is fast enveloping the country attests to a growing intolerance for dissent and critical opinions. According to him, Ghana's hard-won global reputation for media freedom has been badly dented under President Nana Akufo-Addo. NDC Chairman Samuel Fosu-Ampofo read the former president's speech at a wreath-laying ceremony earlier today in Accra to mark 7 years of Professor Atta Mills's death.
This annual commemoration affords us a solemn moment to consider our fidelity to the good professor's example and to reflect on the principles and practice of his leadership style. We are gathered here at the time when our commitment as a nation to fairness and transparency in governance is wavering as to the rights and duty of Ghanaians to criticize their leadership on those grounds. The culture of silence that is fast enveloping our country attests to a growing intolerance of dissent and critical opinions. It stands in stark contrast to the practice of freedom and justice that Professor Mills sought to consolidate under his leadership, and which I so effortlessly exemplified after taking over from him.
NDC National Chairman Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo. The National Media Commission says the Joy News documentary on the presence of the DI group at the Osu Castle was in the public interest, but cited aspects it says were sensational. In March this year, the government of Ghana filed a complaint at the NMC against Joy News, demanding a retraction and an apology. In a ruling, the Commission commended both the multimedia group and the government for pursuing the matter. My colleague Fifi Kumsin joins me in the studio with some detail. Hello, Fifi. What is the background to this matter for those who do not know?
So it's all set out in the facts of the ruling, Israel. On March 13, 2019, the Minister of Information, Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, filed a complaint on behalf of the government of Ghana against the multimedia group before the National Media Commission in accordance with Article 167 of the 1992 Constitution. Now, the complaint was against a documentary we did, Militia in the Heart of the Nation by Manasseh Azuri-Awini. The complaint was that the documentary had made certain claims which could not be supported by the facts adduced. And in line with the law, there was the need for the NMC to investigate the matter and direct a retraction and an apology as well for doing this particular documentary. But the NMC says it is unfortunate that before the complaint was submitted, the government went public on the matter. As part of the settlement process, the complaint was forwarded to multimedia for their response. In their response, they maintained that the documentary was a reflection of the facts gathered by the journalist. Now, they maintained that the complaint was aimed at censorship and undermined their freedom of expression, and that the government lacked the capacity to initiate the action and appealed to the NMC to dismiss the complaint instantly.
All right, so what conclusions does the NMC come to?
A lot of items here. Now, let me tell you a few of them. The Commission set out the issues for determination to include the issue of what is a militia or vigilante, when the group exited the castle, and whether the portion of the documentary focused on the group exposed any act of violence. Now, the commission took into account the argument of both parties and concluded that the disagreement did not so much affect the meaning of the word, but the question of whether some violent conduct had been exhibited. In the end, the commission found out that the attempt to expose the fact that the group operated from the castle was in the interest of the public. However, in the attempt, the investigation had not been consistent in following the ethical standards defined by the Ghana Journalists Association Code of Ethics, particularly Guideline 23, which states that a journalist ensures that photographs and multimedia content adequately reflect an event and do not highlight an incident out of context.
The government demanded a retraction and an apology. Did the commission grant that?
Not at all. In fact, the statement here says that the commission is of the view that whereas it finds the presence of the castle, the presence in the castle of the DI group problematic and unacceptable, the group did not manifest any violent conduct to be described as a militia or vigilante group from the documentary, as the people of Ghana have come to identify such groups. The commission finds the commentary on the documentary and the association with the Ayawaso West Wuogon violence as misleading and a misrepresentation. However, because the multimedia group published a rejoinder from the government, we direct that it publishes our ruling. And it concluded by saying that the commission commends both parties and their counsel for their cooperation and diligent manner in which they pursue the matter before the commission.
Thank you very much, Fifi Kumsing. Education Minister Matthew Opoku Prempeh says the ministry is not impressed with the quality of education at the basic level and is taking steps to embark on reforms to correct it. A World Bank Human Capital Index ranked Ghana last, but one on harmonized test scores of children from basics to secondary school education in the world. The Human Capital Index quantifies the contribution of health and education to the productivity of the next generation of workers. Speaking at the Meet the Press series in Accra, Dr. Opoku Prempeh noted the introduction of a new curriculum, training of teachers, and provision of materials are all designed to address the issue of quality in Ghanaian schools.
The materials, our resource packs have been printed, and we hope that in August, in over 940 places in this country, subject teachers, generalists will be trained to be able to handle the new curriculum. The new curriculum has been quality assured by Cambridge International, meaning the new curriculum for the basic schools is comparable. So when you look at it, you take the sum of the subjects, you would go and say, oh, this is about Singapore maths. What have they done to be where they are? We should be able to, if not replicate, adapt it in this country to be able to also aspire and give our kids hope. Interestingly, the Singapore maths that countries are adopting, one of the key drivers was a Ghanaian. We seem to have a lot of good things in this country that we don't highlight. So that is where we are. Not only that, the key thing that was missing in the old curricula was assessments. Where do we assess? We put a child through KG1, KG2. So we put kids from 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 11, 12 to finish JHS. And the first time that child is being assessed nationally is probably when the child is doing BEC. No wonder we have such disastrous results. No, we should have national assessment. That is not penalizing the kid, but that is allowing us to revisit and see where there's a problem, what support we can give.
Education Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh joins us. Ernest Menu is at the news conference and joins us live. Hello, Ernest. What's the latest on plans to revert some schools to single track?
Well, the ministry has been talking about, the double track, and says that as a matter of policy, first years and second years will continue with a double track, system, except for schools that have infrastructure projects ongoing and can be completed in time in order to revert them immediately to a single track. However, as a matter of policy, all first years and second years will continue with double track, except the Form 3 students. And we know that by September, all 3 levels of, the secondary school structure will be free SHS students, and so government is preparing adequately for that. The minister has also been talking about some other things that has to do with infrastructure. He says that for the basic level, for instance, 804 schools are currently under construction.
Now, as joining us is Ernest Menu. You're listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We're taking a break, but still ahead. Police detained 55 pedestrians on the Adenta Medina Highway for failing to use footbridges along the stretch and violating road traffic regulations there.
We're going to talk to them not to do it again, because some of the little ones are going to school, sensitize them, and to embrace good habits, good attitude.
My name is and I'm a close because they be a close, they be every day be a close. My name is my and I'm a.
And then in sports Minister Isaac Esiama reveals the country spent $4.5 million on the Black Stars Africa Cup of Nations campaign. We have the details. Stay tuned in.
My name is Kwame Sefakai, and most of you know me as a media personality, but I am also a family man. The UMB mobile banking app, UMB Speed App, saves me so much time by letting me do almost all of my banking transactions on my phone. The cardless withdrawal feature allows me to withdraw cash from any UMB ATM without an ATM card. I can also pay bills, transfer money, request for a loan, invest money, and so much more. So now, I can spend less time at the bank and more time with the ones I love. Bank anywhere and anytime with a UMB mobile banking app, UMB Speed App, and get the time to do what you love most. Download the UMB Speed App from your Android, iOS, or Windows phone today. Call 0302-633-988 for more information. UMB Speed App, Digibank, let's go!
Welcome back to the Midday News. Benedictus is here with sports.
Yes,
so, you give us the breakdown.
Exactly, I have the breakdown. But before that, it cost Ghana $4.5 million for the Black Stars pre-AFCON tournament campaign in Dubai. And they are staying in Egypt for the Africa Cup of Nations. This is according to the sports minister. He actually told Parliament this morning the country budgeted $6.5 million. But with the team, exiting at the 1 of 16 stage, the country saved $1.7 million.
A budget of $6,265,084 was approved for the tournament, comprising training tour, main tournament, and related activities. Now, the actual expenditure, Mr. Speaker, emphasis, actual expenditure, Mr. Speaker, an amount of $4,464,352 was expended from the training tour to the time Ghana exited from the main tournament. This expenditure covered the following, Mr. Speaker: the playing body, technical team, members of parliament, and the Senate Committee on Youth, Sports and Culture. My good friend, Honorable Kogoremi, was there in Egypt to support the team. With representatives of the Ghana Football Association, representatives of Old Football Association.
Right, so that's the sports minister. But Benedict, what is the breakdown?
All right, of course. We are interested in especially the amounts that is normally given the players as well as the technical team. So, in the very budget that he gave that's Parliament this morning, you look at the players' winning bonus. It cost $965,405, and for the technical team, it cost $347,000. Per diems that were giving players cost us $107,000, and for the technical staff it cost $129,600. And the chunk went into accommodation, which was $1,143,509,000.
Thank you very much, Benedict Usu, with the sports. 55 pedestrians using the Adenta Medina Highway were earlier today detained by officers of the Ghana Police Service for their failure to abide by road traffic regulations. It follows the Joy News report, which revealed pedestrians continued to cross the stretch in spite of the construction of footbridges along there. The footbridges were built following several pedestrian knockdowns, which the residents blamed on the unavailability of the bridges. So we asked some residents why they are still not using the footbridges.
I've never been here before. This is my first time coming here, and I'm here for a job interview. So I don't know. When I came, they weren't there. They are not open yet. So I decided to.
You mean the footbridge has got gates, so they lock it?
No.
I can see people crossing the footbridge. Just the one behind us.
Yes, I can see that, but I don't know how things work here.
Where do you live?
I live at Newtown,
Accra Newtown.
Adenta.
And you were crossing the road.
Yeah.
But what did you have an adult crossing the road with you? Crossing the road alone? You were in Josephine.
And I pay me Bamajuma, me name DC, and I'm a close because they be a close, they be a.
Well, if you were wondering, that little child was also detained for a while. Operations Commander of the Accra Region, Chief Superintendent Kwesi Fori, warned recalcitrant pedestrians will be arrested and commended the multimedia group for the initiative.
looking at your campaign and looking at what police intend doing, we're going to educate them, caution them, and say no more.
Operations Commander of the Accra Region, Chief Superintendent Kwesi Fori there. Okay, so what's trending on social media? And Mapitso Sebede is here. Maps?
People are still talking about hashtag defend media freedom, and at just_IT says, in fighting for media freedom, we need to focus on strengthening our laws. There must be rule of law and nobody should be above it. At Sami Botsa says, today Boris Johnson, a former journalist, succeeds Theresa May as British Prime Minister. In Ghana, most journalists continue to be treated as peasants, a nuisance and tools to be used and disposed of at the whim of politicians. Hashtag defend media freedom. And at just LTK again says, if only our laws rule over everyone, including politicians and the rich in this country, the attacks on journalists and the media wouldn't have gotten to this point. Hashtag defend media freedom.
Thank you very much, Mapitso Sebede. And that's it for the bulletin. I'm Israel Lai. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good afternoon.